Hello again. The figures for the number of foreigners allowed to settle in this country last year have now been published, and pretty shocking reading they make too. The government has given permission for over 1 million people from other countries to come and live in Britain. There has never been a greater influx of foreigners, and a lot of us are remembering the promises that after Brexit we would be able to take control of our borders and reduce immigration. Whether or not Boris Johnson ever had any intention of doing this, I cannot say, but that he is not reducing immigration should by now be plain to everybody. Just reflect upon that figure. 1 million foreigners being given permission by our government to live in our country. We often hear that every year enough immigrants come to Britain to populate a city such as Southampton, which has 300,000 people living in it, or even Liverpool, which has a population of 500,000 or so. But then these latest statistics take such comparisons to an altogether new level. We are talking now about the population of Birmingham arriving here each year and needing to be housed and have national health services provided for them and so on. How any reasonable person can fail to see this as utterly mad and wholly unsustainable is quite beyond me. For example, the government's current housing target is to see 300,000 homes built each year, which, by the way, there is not the remotest hope of achieving. Even if this was somehow possible, and consider how many square miles of our countryside would need to be concreted over to reach such a target, it would be nowhere near enough to cope with over 1 million people a year turning up on our doorstep and being allowed to stay. I hope that I won't be thought to be overemphasising this matter. We are talking about over 1 million new people registering with GPs last year alone. 1 million people needing to find somewhere to live. 1 million more people consuming water and squeezing themselves onto public transport. All the signs are that this year even more people will be coming here, and there's not the slightest indication that the government wishes to stop them. Quite the opposite. The Prime Minister secured a trade deal with India this year by promising that even more Indians could come and live in our country this year. Even more? How many Indians arrived last year? That would be 87,000. If we are to take more than that in the future, the good Lord alone knows what numbers will be like this year. I see another 15,000 Nigerians came here last year quite legally and were given permission to stay. Good news for those of us who thought that we might have been running out of Africans in this country. I have no idea at all whether successive governments over the last 12 years since David Cameron became Prime Minister have seriously had the slightest intention of reducing immigration. Judging by the fact that the number of immigrants have been rising steadily and no effort is made to prevent foreigners coming to this country to settle, I'm inclined to doubt it. We are told that we need more workers for care homes and so on, which perhaps accounts for the 16,000 Filipinos who were invited to settle here last year. Of course, there's a flaw in the reasoning behind this, because all those newcomers will also become old eventually and need to be looked after. I suppose that in a few decades we shall have to invite even more people from Nigeria and the Philippines to come and care for all the old Filipinos and Nigerians who will by that time be in nursing homes and suffering from dementia. It seems to be a self-perpetuating cycle that is established here. I do not pretend to be an expert on the subject, but there does seem to be something amiss about these plans. In the description to this video, I give a link to the figures which I give here. Just for the record, that's 994,951 visas granted to workers, students and relatives of people already here, and also 15,451 people granted asylum last year alone.